The Sarasota County Eldercare channel is brought to you by Mike Levine and the great folks at Home Instead of South Sarasota County. Today's guest is Maxine Bobys, physician assistant and medical advocate.
Welcome to the Sarasota County Eldercare channel. I'm Marianne Gordon with Home Instead in South Sarasota County. Today I'm here with Maxine Bobys. Maxine is a medical advocate. Hello Maxine, how are you today?
I'm great, Marianne. How are you? And thank you for inviting me to be here.
Thank you for being here. So to start out with, what is a medical advocate?
Well, I actually looked up the definition of advocate. As a noun, it is a person who fights for someone. As a verb, it means to speak in favor of.
Okay.
Therefore, I think a medical advocate does both things. All right. I fight for my clients' rights to understand their medical visits and the information that is generated from those visits. My goal is for my clients to be fully informed and to make informed decisions about their health care and to be active participants in their health care.
That's, even when I go to the doctors, I find that sometimes I leave and I'm confused, I'm lost, So especially for our senior community, it's so important that they understand. And the key word that you said, participate.
Participate.
Because understanding they can participate then.
It is their health care, not mine. I view myself as an educator, an advocate, and an information gatherer.
So what type of services are you offering your clients?
I go into the examining room with my clients. I am there as an impartial observer. I take copious notes of what's going on in this office visit from the time that the nurse comes in and takes the vital signs and asks the reason for the visit today. When people are ill, they focus inwardly. There may not be listening, they may not know the words to use to describe what's going on with them. So I then go home and I write up a full report of what went on during the office visit. And then I send that usually by email in today's technical world, right, to the patient and also to any family members who I have permission to send a report to.
Okay, so your client would give you more like written permission to say, okay, these are the people you can send the report to.
Right.
Are you communicating with the physician during that appointment? I mean, can you ask for clarification on certain things?
Absolutely. I am there mostly to listen, but I interject when I feel that something needs clarification, that there might be another way of doing things, etc. I try not to do that, but I find that I'm put in that position a lot of the time.
Right. If there is a caregiver at home or for your client, would you be communicating with permission with that caregiver, I would imagine?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
I think, I like a team approach, and certainly a caregiver in the home is a large part of that team because they're actually seeing what people are doing inside their homes where I might not have any information about that.
Right. And as far as ensuring that your client follows, let's say your client doesn't have a caregiver, your client lives home by him or herself, how do you ensure that he's following the instructions that the doctor gave, or follow-up visits, telephone calls?
Yes, both of those. Usually there are follow-up visits made at the time of appointments, and we certainly make sure that we follow up with that. Sometimes clients are very stubborn and they don't want to follow the advice of their doctors.
Sometimes I do that.
Unless I live with them, there's no real insurance or assurance that they are following. At some point, they have to take responsibility for their own health care and what needs to be done.
Right. Can you, I'm just thinking about certain things that with Home Instead, we're non-medical. Can you prepare a client's med box for them?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you do frequently?
It's not frequent because usually there is someone else already doing that, or my clients themselves are doing it. They're perfectly capable of filling in their med boxes. But where necessary, yes, I have done that, and that's part of my service.
What about any kind of wound care or anything like that? Is that something,
No. I don't get into that because I don't treat. Right? I'm not in
You are just
treatment.
advocating.
I'm just advocating. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not prescribing. I am advocating.
Who would be your typical client?
I would say most likely the elderly, who actually really need advocacy.
Right.
A lot of times elderly patients are just, they don't hear, and they miss so much in an office visit that they come out and they have no idea of what went on. To have a written statement of everything that went on in the visit, they're really amazed. Oh, did that really happen? And then we also have a documentation of what happened from our perspective, as well as the doctor is documenting from his perspective. And they're always just amazed at the information that I gather because I am impartial to that. They're not hearing. So I think the elderly, now I'm getting more into some dementia patients. I have a client whose wife just doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to go to the doctor's appointments with them. She has enough stress at home, and any burden I can take off of her shoulders, she feels is well worth it. So I take him to all of his doctor's appointments.
It is a burden because, just from some experiences I had going to doctor's appointments with a loved one, I felt like I really had to be on my game.
Absolutely.
But I was also dealing with the emotion of having to deal with what my loved one was going through. So at times I would take notes because I knew I was going to miss things.
Exactly.
So having that and then to refer back to even is in and of itself invaluable for the family and the patient.
I feel it is. So.
How do I find you? If I need you, how do I find you?
That's a very good question. I have not advertised.
Right.
This is probably the most I've done. It's been word of mouth.
Yeah.
I live in a very gated community, and I put up my cards. I think through Home Instead, they can get my information.
For people who need you.
Yes, definitely. And that's really all I've done so far. So this is my first, going out and trying to get clients.
Well, word of mouth is invaluable. I mean, most people say that's how they build their businesses.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I think we've kind of covered all the information, but one thing I haven't asked you is about you.
Oh,
tell me about you and how you got into being a medical advocate.
Well, I was a physician assistant for 17 years in Lexington, Kentucky. I worked in a family practice group setting. I saw ages newborn to the very elderly. I saw diseases having to do with every organ system in the body, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, broken legs, rashes, you name it, I saw it. Gynecological issues, prostate issues, whatever came along.
Right.
My day was never the same. No 2 days are ever the same. I retired 4 years ago, And I thought, I have all this knowledge in my head, and I don't know what to do with it because I don't want to do direct patient care anymore. And so a friend of mine, I was talking to them one day, and they said, I would have paid anything. He was living in New York. His father was here. He had to get on a plane every time his father had to go to the doctor.
I know.
And he said, it would have saved me in the long run. Plus, I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought, maybe that's how I can use the skills that I still have and that I would like to share with other people.
And it's so important to have somebody that's as knowledgeable and as experienced as you are as the advocate. More and more, I think that what we see in Home Instead, when we start with a new client, they just haven't been keeping on top of their things. The medicines have not been taken, or they've confused themselves with meds they took a while back and are no longer taking. Get rid of those old meds. Don't have them hanging around. Stuff that you would probably go in and advise your client. So I know that there are some medical advocates and navigators out there, but what would you say sets you apart from other people, aside from your experiences?
I think the experience is really good. I think I'm a people person, and I really end up caring about my clients. And I just, especially elderly clients, they have such stories. They've lived through so much and they remember so much that I'm finding their stories really fascinating. And I want to give back in some way. I want people, first of all, I feel that medicine is not going in the right direction. When quantity of patients override quality of care, I think we're in trouble. The first thing I learned in PA school was, if you go in and you look at your patient and you talk to your patient, you don't probably even have to lay hands on them. They're going to tell you what's wrong with them.
Right.
In today's world, doctors are on the computer. They're looking at a computer screen. They're not looking at you. They're entering information. They're not looking at you. They're going back into the records to see what happened on the last visit. They're not listening to you. Looking and listening are the keys to medicine, in my opinion. I'm actually sorry that I have to have this job. I'm sorry that we need a stopgap measure between patient and their doctors. But that's the way we're going today, and it's not going to change.
No, I see it here in the doctor's offices. When we take our clients into doctor's offices, the visits are shorter and shorter, and there doesn't seem to be any quality, as you said to them.
Exactly.
And in all fairness to doctors, they have their they have their constraints in what they're doing. But the one thing that really struck me is, if you look at somebody in the face and really concentrate, you see so much more than what they're just saying. You see the emotional effects. And you're right, we're too computerized, we're not hands-on enough. So.
And you can walk into a room and you should be able to tell whether someone needs immediate attention or I'm having a heart attack, but they're talking and singing and doing all this other stuff. And so you need to look, you need to listen. And I'm kind of the one doing that. I'll give you an example. I had a client who went to the doctor, and we were in the room, and the treatment plan included an invasive procedure under anesthesia. Okay. And I interjected and said, well, why don't we do like a step down from that doesn't require anesthesia and doesn't carry the risk factors that an invasive procedure would do. Well, the doctor got upset with me, but that's the way it ended up that we went. and it was so much better
Right.
than for my client.
Right.
So that's what advocacy
That's
is
right.
all about.
That's right. You know your client. You know
Yes.
what they want, what they can handle, even.
Exactly.
And yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that I got to meet you, and we did meet through a mutual
Yes, we
client,
did.
a home instead
We did.
client. But you're doing such a great job in the community. Probably maybe more than you know, because it's not just for the client; it's for the family members too.
Yeah.
Knowing that they have somebody there to advocate for their parents and loved ones, it takes a lot of stress off us.
Oh, I hope so. That's why I got into what I got into.
It's been so nice having you with us,
Thank
Maxine.
you. I
and
really appreciate
we'd
this.
like you to come back at some point, maybe to update us on what's
Okay.
going on. We try to keep our interviews a little fresh, but for now, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I'm Marianne Gordon with the South Sarasota County Eldercare Channel. Until next time.